Looks like the live that I did this morning did not take, so I am trying again. Hi. For those who might be unfamiliar with me and just dropping in, I'm Diana Rachel. I am the voice behind The Spirited Witch, Practical Living for Spooky People. And yes, I can see myself. I see people. I thought it was weird when nobody showed up this morning after I'd pre-scheduled. So I'm thinking it just never recorded. So I got a really good rehearsal in. And hopefully I'll be doing a little better today because, I've had my nap, I've had my caffeine. For those wondering why I'm in a bed instead of in front of my usual herb cabinet, I managed to throw my back out lifting a turkey while ignoring sciatica. It ended with me collapsing in my kitchen. So, oops. So right now I am resting until my body decides to untangle itself enough that I can actually go see a chiropractor and get somewhere. So that's what happened. No matter how spiritual we are, chop wood, carry water, skin your knees, stupid stuff happens, especially to me. So, yeah, you did not miss it. Apparently, I did not hit the button, but you got the preview. So, you got the spoilers, Carrie, before you even got the main show. And I just happened to be doing my notes for this and went to open up Substack Draft, and hey, there was no draft there because it didn't record. So it looks like I'm going to have a busy afternoon with the camera anyway. Um, so the card that I pulled for today was the Two of Swords inverted crossing. Now, spoiler alert for people that go over to my Patreon, this whole reading ends in the tower based on the 3-card reading that I do for the Patreon right after I do these 1-card readings for the Substack. And the way these cards are usually, the way swords are interpreted can be very complicated because you remember, this isn't about the big mad kind of fighting. This is about the we're fighting over resources kind of fighting that swords refers to. Wands is the big mad and I'm full of opinions. And I mean, I would say 10 of Wands is basically a fantastic metaphor for the internet as it exists today, where it is just one big cluster and you're not even sure what forest, what trees, or what fire you're trying to set. Swords is a little different. And with this one, with it inverted, now on the traditional Coleman Smith tarot, you will see a woman balancing swords, and she's kind of doing this, which is also a meditation pose. It's an imitation of Egyptian poses. You get the idea. And she's blindfolded. And I can tell you, for somebody who does a lot of muscle exercises where I will blind myself, not blind myself, my God, blindfold myself, that can be harder to maintain because you don't really have a choice except being in your body and keeping that balance. So when this card is direct, it's about keeping a fairly delicate balance that takes some muscle to maintain. So when it is inverted, that means that that muscle is not going to be maintained. It's either a complete collapse or it's a complete unblocking. The gate has been opened. The gate has been burned down. I keep getting the images of the dams bursting in New Orleans this afternoon. So apparently New Orleans wants to have a chat with me, but of course, but it's a good part of year, so maybe. So what I was looking at this is on the US bias, because again, I'm an American citizen, so my bias in these readings, even on a community level, is towards the US, is there are some big pieces of structure that are starting to fall apart, pieces of law, a certain bill that was very poorly written and tried to cover way too much. Perhaps the line item structure that really should have been gotten rid of years ago, 100 years ago. But something on the larger is just, it's going to fail this week. It's whatever was holding something in place is going to be gone. And again, I wish I knew how to sugarcoat. Apparently my brain, my neurology will not let me do that. But because of that part of my neurology, I also always have the mentality of, okay, so the world's ending. What we going to do about it? And so looking at this one with the crossing inverted, if certain structures are falling apart, that also means that the things those structures forbade, those things those structures didn't allow, are also no longer in your way. So I'm thinking in terms of government overregulation that happens a lot on local community levels. And this is why New Orleans was on my mind with this card is, for example, a lot of the Parks and Rec department got cut. Like, unless it's a major tourist area, a lot of places were completely neglected. So the neighbors in those areas started taking it on themselves to mow the playground lawns, to do some guerrilla gardening and set up raised beds to create their own local food forests, this kind of thing. This is the energy of this card is, okay, something broke, but that means that there is something good you can do that was prevented by regulation that is no longer regulated because nobody's around to regulate you. Now, I will say that that doesn't mean that I am encouraging the anarchist approach, because the anarchist approach, in my experience, certainly not in theory, but in my experience, does not always take a moment to measure impact. So, for example, if you want to start getting local businesses to give you their pallet wood and start building raised beds on the sidewalks outside, and you want to grow berries in an environment that you can grow berries year round, that's great. But, remember, it's going to increase, you're going to need pollinator population. That does mean there are certain other risks and impacts. You need to make sure that you're not blocking people that need to use wheelchairs. You do need to think through that. So looking up some urban design stuff, not bad. You'll learn about what to think about. Looking up tactical urbanism, which is very much about tweaking urban design on a small and personal scale. So again, this is my bias. I am the author of Urban Magic. This is the way I think, but this is also, Urban Magic is very much my great, what can I do about this? Now, for those of you that go on the Patreon, and you can be a free member of the Spirited Witch Patreon, and the 3 card draw is free to all members of the Patreon. So if you wanted to hop over there and join and see that one, the end result of today's reading altogether with this and the 3 card is that as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to pause and make a special little education enrichment snippet on the Tower card, because it is one of the few fixed cards in the tarot. But again, just because it's fixed does not mean you are helpless. It just means you may have more interesting choices than you wanted to have. So before I go on, I am so happy that so many people showed up today. So hi and thank you. I never know when. If there are any questions about that or clarifications, you are welcome to ask. And if not, I am just grateful that you took the time to hang out with me. I already have this post written up. So usually somewhere between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m., I do send out the Substack and Patreon posts for the write-ups after these videos. What I do with them, that I try to make them a little different and a little more useful for people teaching themselves tarot, is that you can look over, I will have the image of the deck that I use, which is usually Tarot of the Spirit. Last week it was the Urban Tarot, because that's my favorite. But it will have an image of the deck that I use and an image of the traditional Rider-Waite, partly because there are subtle differences in meaning depending on how the artist interpreted the card. But also so you can start, and I will have a list of keywords and my own, sometimes tongue-in-cheek, I am a bit of a smartass, write-up of the card, its meaning, and just bringing some humor to what is frequently for me a weekly dire situation that I have to look at. And you can take those keywords and those key phrases and use them as you'll build out your own understanding of tarot, which is why I do it that way. So also, for those that may have interest, I do one-on-one tarot readings over Zoom. And I am a paranormal problem solver. So it is everything from, hey, I think I might be cursed, so let's rule that out, because usually it's not a curse, it's just something that looks like one. Or hey, I need to know what's going on with love, career, money, so on, the things that go bump in the night, and how to get along with my invisible roommates. And so you can check on the Spirited Witch and message me about setting up an appointment, or I do have a booking portal that I am in the process of fixing still. So, hi. So that is available if you like. I did see someone come in at the last moment, just before I was about to sign off. So the card was 2 of Swords inverted, crossing inverted. I am interpreting this as a major structure, a major system structure that's been being held together with a lot of muscle and a lot of faith, has to let down its hands. And that is scary, but it doesn't have to be bad. It's okay, this scary or bad thing is happening. What's a good thing I can do about it? And so this is what I am encouraging people to take a look at and consider. So that's what I've got. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. For the new people, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed getting to know me a little bit, especially since Even for weirdos, I'm a weird one, but I try to do good with that. All right. So thanks so much. And just stay magical, beautiful people.